You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 116. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. Every interview I do is what I consider a gift and a treat for me, and today is no exception. In fact, it feels like the cherry on top. I've been following Row House Publishing for a while now and have also become one of their investors. Row House is a publishing house that is doing things differently. They aren't just amplifying the voices of Black and Brown people and sharing trauma and oppression, but they are sharing stories and making a difference in the lives of their authors. They have an incredible model they are using and are truly one of a kind. I reached out to Row House's founder, Rebekah Baruchy, and asked if she and founder of Check Your Privilege, Maisha T Hill, would join me for a conversation. Friends, it was epic, and I am so excited to share the laughs, the tears, and the hard truths that we discussed. Hello, Rebekah and Myisha. I am so excited to chat with both of you. This is going to be fun since I've never done more than one guest at a time.
Well, thank you for having us. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm really grateful to be here as well. Thank you so much.
Can you both take a moment to introduce yourselves to anyone who has not heard of you and is living under a rock?
Well, I'm going to defer the opening spot to Mai. So you go ahead.
Thanks, Rebekah. I'm Maisha T Hill. I am an author and a speaker. I'm the founder of the movement Check Your Privilege, where we help folks heal from the interlocking systems of oppression. I've been in this work all my life as a Black woman, but I started moving into it deeper about 4 years ago after an interaction with a friend. And I really like to do this work looking at the whole person approach, honoring one's humanity without the shame, guilt, and gaslighting of oneself that exists in the world. So I'm really called into this work to, I think, help folks really look at themselves and look at the patterns of their past and help them move forward to a reparative future, no pun intended. Like that's kind of been my life's motto. I've actually been living out my book as well. So it's just been everything is just heal your way forward, repair. So yeah, that's what I do. We help folks heal from intergenerational trauma and oppression, and I'm grateful to be here.
Well, I am Rebekah Baruchy. I am Myisha's publisher, which is such an honor. I own Row House Publishing and the children's imprint under Row House, Wheat Penny Press. I am a mother to 5. I am an autistic biracial woman. I have not made racial justice my life's work, but social justice is something that's absolutely in my blood. I was raised in the church by pacifists. And I come at everything through the lens of the oneness of humanity and being here for our siblings on this planet and all being connected as God's children is something that's foundational for me. And I'm also an author, publisher, meditation guide, and a mental health advocate. That's the work I've been doing for the past 12 years, in addition to writing.
You're both busy women.
I mean, we do what we love, right, Mai?
Yeah. How did you two come together?
Well, I was a fan and follower of Myisha, so I'll say that. And following Check Your Privilege and her work. And how did we come together? Did I ask you if you wanted to write a book? How did that work?
And I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but count me in. That's where I was with it. And you're like, okay. So every time you say, Beck says, I'm a fan and follower, I'm like, I'm just an everyday person. Please don't do that.
But
But
that's who I think we should be fans of, right? Everyday
yeah,
people. I think those are the people that are really shifting the narrative and changing the way we move in the world. It's not, I mean, sometimes they become superstars, but more often than not, and we know this from the civil rights movement, that, it was really the unsung heroes that were the driving force, the Black women behind the Black men, the white men that, were
mhm,
signing the laws and leading the marches. So I'm a big fan of a lot of extraordinary regular people.
yeah,
I like that. And I think that those are the ones that are changing the world because we have
Mhm.
to get down to the everyday people in order to make those big changes that we need to see happen.
And I would go further and be more specific that we really have to be following Black and brown women. Like Myisha said, that this is her life's work because of her identity. Like, she is a Black woman, and this is the work that she has to do in the world, whether she wants to or not. Right? Like, a
right.
lot of us don't have a choice.
Hmm.
So we have to look to the people that have been doing it for survival of themselves and their communities, because they know how to get it done. It's why I'm here, right? Because of I stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's important. Yeah, especially Black and brown women. We don't get enough credit. You know what I'm saying, for the work that we do in the world, and oftentimes our work is co-opted and taken and normalized by whiteness and folks of the dominant culture. So we get erased. So I respect that. Thanks, Rebekah.
I'm always good for the one-liners. I do this a lot.
That was more than a one-liner. That was
I
much
know.
deeper than a one-liner.
Brevity is not the virtue of mine. So there you go.
I'm glad to hear that.
See,
Now, share about what Row House is for people who don't know, because I think, people are familiar with the big five publishers and Simon and
Mhm.
Schuster and that kind of a thing, but you're doing
Mhm.
something different and unique and beautiful.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're doing something that's never been done in the history of publishing. Our contract model is one that is transparent and equitable, which is unheard of in publishing. It is the 40/40 model that is our concept. It offers a $40,000 advance to all of our authors, regardless of the size of their platform, and a 40% royalty share, which is 4 times industry average. We live at the intersection of personal development and social justice. So while our authors, from a range of experiences, writing about spirituality and business and self-help, and we even have literary memoir, it's all through the lens of social justice and giving voice to the most marginalized among us. Even our white authors are writing from a place of advocacy and allyship, and we're really, really excited about that. And we want people that are not heard from enough and in the right, or I'll say the large venues, to be center stage, to have that kind of wide mass distribution, and not just talking about struggle and oppression and trauma, even though these things are very important to talk about, but also talking about joy and thriving and love, the things that aren't so marketable when it comes from Black and brown, disabled, and queer folks. So we're really excited to be bringing that to the forefront and doing it in a big way. We're not just another indie. We have major partnerships, major distribution, and we are here to compete with all the big guys.
I love it. And you're taking investments right now. And
Yeah, we are.
I'm very excited about this. And I want to plug it because
Yeah.
to me, it's a very big deal as someone who's been following you, as someone who wants to make a difference in the world. I think that this is truly a way to make a difference. It's something I'm passionate about. I also love books. So it's kind of one of those things that goes hand in hand, in order to make a change. So what are you doing to allow others like myself, because I am an investor and I'm shouting it from the rooftops? How can we
Thank you.
help you?
Well, thanks for loving books. I believe books, start revolutions, maintain revolutions. It was a book, Soul on Ice, by Eldridge Cleaver, a Black Panther, a member of the Black Panther Party, that radicalized me when I was only 13 years old. So books are everything to me. Even our means of fundraising is through a lens of justice. We are partnered with a Black and brown founded and funded equity crowdfunding portal called Seed at the Table. Really amazing folks over there. And what we were able to do with them is create a structure from the Jobs Act. It was from a benefit of the Jobs Act, an Obama era policy that allows us to bring in investors for as little as $300. They don't have to be accredited, which means you don't have to be making 250 grand a year or like have $1 million in assets and all that other nonsense that gatekeeps regular folks from building wealth. So for just $300 or more, if you want, up to $99,900, you can go to rowhousepublishing.com, click that invest button and do it online, and do it before December 31st of 2021, because we need you to start and maintain this revolution.
And what will that do? What will happen with the money besides you're bringing on more authors, amplifying more voices? Is it just a continuation of that?
It's a continuation, but it's you know what? I'd like to hear from Myisha actually. Like, what does it mean for you, the kind of model that we're offering?
I think for me, this is a revolutionary model. I think there's never been anything done like this before. I think that money funds the future, right? It supports Row House with what they need, future operations managers, future authors. It's something that I've never seen before, right? I've never seen an author get a $40,000 advance. It helps fund other initiatives that Row House may offer in the future. I think for me, it normalizes the need and the investment in voices that matter and voices that are the most marginalized. Like, I have multiple marginalizations. Like, I am, I never share this openly, but, me and Rebekah talk about me and my autism and the way it manifests and me not naming that, right? So it supports folks on the margins. And I think that's what's important about this work and the work of Row House, that it's not about, signing another Robin DiAngelo, someone who went to school and doesn't necessarily have the lived experience. Like, I'm not here to discredit you, Dr. DiAngelo, if you're listening, or if you're her follower. But what I am telling you, there's a difference between going to pursue higher education and getting a degree and doing research than it is to get that same degree and have the lived experience behind it, right? So as someone who's participated in research studies and got a little $100 check so I can go buy groceries for my family, that's the part of the lived experience story that Dr. DiAngelo can't tell a white audience. And I think the money that comes into Row House, you get more stories of, yes, I might look like a person with a blue check and I'm, living my best life, but you won't get the lived experience story. And I think investing in Row House, you don't just get expertise and degrees and all of those big fancy words. You get to hear the truth of someone's story, and story is sacred. And so for Row House I feel it coming up, for Row House to invest in the stories is what matters. And I think that's the benefit of the money, because it changes someone's situation. Like, I don't have to worry about food stamps because a company invested in me. I don't have to worry about paying my rent. I don't have to worry about the experiencing racism and everything that comes with that, because some company believes that my voice matters.
Oh, I love you, Mai. And I'll tell you that it's so much more than your voice that matters. It is that experience. And it is the connection and the energy that we feel that comes through your work. And like you said, we're not here to discredit someone else that's teaching something that they learned. But, there's something on an energetic level, on a spiritual level. I'm someone of faith that believes that these are the stories of our ancestors. This is the work that's coming from our DNA, from our history, that it can't just be learned and taught. It has to be felt and experienced. And, for me, as a light-skinned, biracial woman who navigates the white world with a certain amount of ease in comparison to my brothers and sisters who have darker skin than I do, I appreciate my privilege and I appreciate my duty to step aside. And I think that that's what's missing from this intellectual world that's tackling racism and social justice. It's like we've compartmentalized it as an intellectual pursuit when it's a soul pursuit. It's a pursuit for humanity. And that's what needs to come through. And that's why we need these other voices, these voices who are living this work, to have center stage. So yeah, it's not like we don't want white people out here doing the work. Like, obviously we need white people out here doing the work,
right.
But it shouldn't be like the main voices, the ones that have the spotlight on them. And I'll tell you, like, even further than our authors, because there is an objectification of Black and brown bodies and Black and brown stories that's being practiced by traditional publishers, where like we saw in 2020, after we saw George Floyd murdered on video, we saw this reaction from publishers to grab up all of these authors who are writing about anti-racism. And a lot of them are my friends. So God bless them. I'm so happy that they got their work out and they made that money and they got those New York Times bestseller spots. However, it was all about oppression, trauma, and suffering. And we need those other stories. So we're not just objectifying Black and brown bodies and stories to make $1 or to make it look like we are we're participating in some kind of justice. Our accountants, our attorneys, our funding partners, our designers, are like people you would never see, right? Like we don't see any of these people behind the scenes. The people that make up the 80% of white folks in publishing, we are putting Black, brown, queer, and disabled folks in those spots. Like when you see the Row House catalog and you look at the illustrations, it's brown and disabled people that created those illustrations. Like our accountant, Troken Pope, my goodness, he just drives me up the wall. But because I am not a numbers person, but it's like this beautiful Black man is benefiting from the fundraising that we're doing and then the future profits that we're doing. And we have someone who understands when we have authors come in that are like, they have a certain financial situation or they need their contract created or modified in a certain way to accommodate them and the way they need to work. Like he makes that happen for us, as do our attorneys. So it just runs so much deeper than like the stories that we're putting out. This is an institution. This is a community. This is a value system that we hope creates. Actually, no, I don't hope. I'm going to use manifesting language as my Black publicist Kima Jones says.
Right.
We are creating a ripple effect in the industry right now. Like people are already looking at us. We're already in Forbes. We're already saying, white supremacy on Bloomberg. Like we're out there and people see us and some people are scared of us and more people are rallying for us and it's all good.
Well, and I feel like you're putting humanity back into it too. Referencing one of your Instagram posts that was the other day, how one of your writers said, I need more time. And your response wasn't just, okay, have some more time, but you wanted to know what was going on in the writer's life. What's the problem? How can you help?
Of course.
And there's that element of humanity that I think whether we're talking in the publishing world or anywhere else, it's missing. It's really lacking.
Oh, in business and capitalism, it's a soulless world that we're trying to navigate. But the beautiful thing about our people is that we've never lost our humanity. And that's something that, and this isn't about white people. This is about whiteness. And there's a huge difference. Whiteness lacks any humanity whatsoever. It actually is, the whole concept is predicated on there being a lack of humanity, because how can you be an oppressor if you are in touch with yourself? But the beautiful thing about the people that we're dealing with, and I'll say white people included that are part of this organization, is that we have not lost touch with our humanity. And this is the way we operate just because this is the way we operate. This is who we are. And it's been the most beautiful experience of my entire life. And I wake up every day just completely blessed to be here and be in this position.
And Myisha, what's it done for you? You shared part of it. I don't want to make you cry again, but that was absolutely beautiful.
We love
what you
tears.
shared.
We love tears.
First of all, let me just say this: like growing up as a Black, highly sensitive person, didn't know they were autistic. Crying is the most beautiful release that a person can do. So I cry a lot, and I cry on podcasts all the time. So thank you.
Good. I love it because I cry at commercials. So you are in good company.
So I can't show up and tell everyone else to normalize their humanity if I'm not normalizing my own. And so with that in mind, I need you to ask me the question again.
Well, what is it? What does all of this mean for you? Like, is this something that you ever conceived as potentially happening? Was writing a book on your radar at all? How is this changing your life besides just financially?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, a few years ago, I've been in this entrepreneur journey for about 13 years. My oldest son is 16. I've done fashion. My background is in fashion marketing. So if you ever Google Maisha Hill and plus size fashion, you'll see. But about 5-6 years ago, I was going down like an entrepreneurial slump. And Steve Harvey came out and said, make a list of 500 things you want in your life. And I was like, I'm going to do this $500 list, right, with Steve Harvey. And I tell you something, on this list was a New York Times best-selling book with a publishing company.
Mm.
And I always believe that a person can write their life into existence. And everything else that I put on that list, out of 500, I would say 200 of those things have happened in the last 5 years. And so, for me, I've always wanted to write a book, so I've self-published a lot. You can buy a couple of them. I wouldn't recommend all of them. Because I read one of them and I was like, wow, that was okay. But yeah, to be signed with Row House Publishing and to have a backing for my voice and someone who struggles with dyslexia and just overthinking and even a writing trauma. I had a teacher tell me I was a horrible writer, but still wanting to manifest like a New York Times bestseller / on Oprah's book club list has always been a dream of mine. And so Row House has helped me work through like a writing trauma. Row House has helped me like manifest my life into existence. And I think that's what Row House is doing for folks. Like it's helping folks think of themselves outside the binary of the system, right? Because the system tells people like me, people who are disabled and marginalized, your voice, your story, your life doesn't matter. You aren't perfect. You have an issue. You're a broken thing. So because you're broken, you don't fit here. And I like to think of Row House as there's the big school bus. And I don't know if y'all remember that little small school bus that nobody wanted to be on. Row House is like the little school bus, but banged out. You're going to see us coming. You're going to move out the way. We're now the popular bus, if that makes sense. So if I could give y'all that as a visual, Row House is that bus that nobody wanted to be on. That's like plowing through the energy. That's like pushing through. That's taking over. That's like really showing that the system is collapsing. And Row House is like this small bus of power that's helping collapse and building up a new way of doing and being in business.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
I love that. I see the graphic.
It's so true because I'll say that you think about, and let's talk about in a literal sense, you think about those kids on that bus and you think about, the quote unquote special ed classroom. And I look back, I lived in a diverse community, but the special ed class was disproportionately Black and brown, right? So, and I'm seeing now because of my own diagnosis, my own autism diagnosis, I wasn't even able to really read until I was 40 years old and I was on proper medication, ADHD, OCD, autism, all of it. And that was a secret that I held and a secret shame that I held. But these are just the most underestimated, misunderstood, pushed aside, unconsidered people. And it's where just the brilliance lives. Like I say, that all the most brilliant people I know are from the hood. And that's just a fact of the matter. That's a fact of my life. And there's all this untapped potential. There's all this gold, not necessarily to be mined, but just to allow to shine, right? Like this isn't charity work. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to go help these poor, unfortunate people. It's like, hey, family, I see you. And this is why I need you. I see all your brilliance and I need you to step up with your hair as it is, your dress as it is, your voice as it is, your accent, your all of it. I need all of it to come forward because this is what the world lacks. This is why we are in the disarray and the destruction that we are in. And if you are given an opportunity to fix this, like it's like land back doesn't mean just let's give this physical land back. It's like give the power back to the people. Let Black, brown, indigenous people, the people that have been pushed to the margins, let them have the control, the power back. And let's see how even the idea of what power is shifts and how we all benefit. And I don't know, I just have so much hope for the future. I really do. And it's I look at my authors and I'm like, God, I can't believe these people want to hang out with me. Like, these are just the coolest people on the planet. Like, really me? But yeah.
I have hope myself, but it's in talking to individuals like yourselves that gives me even more hope that there is change happening, that my children have a brighter future because of people like you, because of companies like Row House, because we're still plugging away and working towards making a difference. We're not just standing around letting it be stagnant and being okay with the status quo, that you're really walking the talk. And I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. If we were on video, you'd see my head's nodding. I'm like, yes, I love it.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I'm always thinking of my ancestors. And no, not just my Black ancestors from Africa. I think about my Scottish, Irish ancestors and, their trials and tribulations and what they went through. We all of us came from villages. All of us came from tribes. We've all been stripped of our humanity by virtue of taking on the name American, right? The label American. So I think about my ancestors and I think about the ease in which I move in the world. And for me to say, I'm a radical, for me to go out and march and protest, I'm infinitely safer than anyone who's come before me. Mm-hmm. And this to me is no duh. Of course I do this work because it's easy, it's accessible. It's not as easy for everybody else than it is for me, even my contemporaries. So that makes it even easier. And it's I can't imagine another way. What else is there to do but to make the world a better place, right? Really?
Yes.
And also have lots of fun and read books and write books. And I mean, this is kind of a dope industry to be in. I know it seems nerdy, but I think it's pretty cool.
No, to me, it's like a dream come true. Are you kidding me?
It's awesome. I mean, as stressful as I was with this last book, I'm ready for the next one.
I know. She's like, I have another proposal ready for you. And I'm like, all right.
Oh, I love that. How do you both see, and I'm going to, tell me if I'm putting you on the spot. You don't have to, but, as a white female, what is it that I can do to support you both more? What is it that I can do to support, more of you and Row House and, just to make sure that your voices are amplified more?
I think it starts with not being a one and done, right? So for the white folks and white women and men and non-binary and gender non-conforming friends that I work with, this is not a one and done journey. So it's continue to shout out Row House Publishing, Check Your Privilege. When our books come out, having the authors come on and talk about their books and centering our stories and our voices. Don't be a one and done donor. I'm sure that Row House could use a Cash App. So if you're someone who's listening, you grew up in the traditional Christian church and you give 10% of your tithe to a system that is still oppressive, you can give that 10% to Row House. You can give that 10% to an educator. You can give that 10% to a writer. It's time to reimagine where your dollars and your time goes. I have individuals who support Check Your Privilege by donating their business skills, right? So it's you showing up saying, hey, I'm in copywriting. Hey, I noticed on this post for Check Your Privilege, you need a little bit, I can word swag your post for you for 6 months. It's stop being a one and done. Stop showing up one time and thinking that your work is done. This is an ongoing journey. And I think that's where a lot of white women get stuck. It's well, I took Myisha's workshop or I invested in Row House, so I'm a good white person. It's not about the good, bad binary. It's really about consistently showing up with your time and your talents, and your time, talents, and dollars.
I mean, that's an old church adage: time, talent, treasure. We all have something. We all have something to give. And I love it. And look, I talk about church and God and faith a lot. That is one of my pillars. It doesn't have to be for yours, but I think we're all connected in this idea of humanity. And I knew Myisha was going to say what she was going to say. It's keep doing your work. How can you help us? Do your work. You do the thing. You step aside. You give up the platform or the spotlight. You give whatever you can, till it pushes you to that edge, till it pushes you to oh, can I give more? Because that's the reality of the people that you're trying to help. It's it's not a choice. So yeah, buy Myisha's book, Heal Your Way Forward. That's going to drop in July and pre-orders are going to start very soon. We're so excited about this book. It's going to be the roadmap, the how you should be living so that you are setting the world up for future generations. It's a beautiful book. I'm so privileged to read it early. But yeah, just continue to ask yourself, how may I be of service? And I'll tell you, and I don't name names because they don't want to be named, but one of our attorneys is a white woman who from the very beginning, before Row House even had a name, she was actually working with me on my nonprofit, the Little Readers Big Change Initiative. She said, I'm yours. These are free services for an indefinite amount of time. And when I tell you that she has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal work, it is no exaggeration, because we are coming up with another publisher that's Spiegel and Grau, that's run by Cindy Spiegel, who has been a mentor to us. And she's like, how are you even handling legal fees? I'm like, oh, that's pro bono. Because we're doing the work. So we have this white woman. The music for our podcast is written anonymously by a white man who donates his time. And he's doing our season 2 music right now. It's like we are running on a budget that is unheard of in publishing, because we have the type of support that's unheard of in publishing. And it's white folks, not, giving them the pat on the back, but doing what they should be doing, that are putting, their time, talent, and their treasure where their words are, and saying, like, I'm ready to step up and make the world a better place. And like Myisha said, it doesn't have to be Row House, right? Like, it could, I don't care who you're supporting, as long as you're putting, your time into somebody who's trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah. I also want to add, for the children, for people who are listening, and if you have children, I think it's really important that also children have to be brought into this work. As a parent, we send our kids to school, and that's a whole nother conversation. If you ever want to talk about the school system, please reach out to me.
Oh, you're going to be on more than once. I'm just telling you right now.
But it's, your kids have to be, as my son calls them, kid co-conspirators. Like, you have to bring your whole family into this work. Maybe your partner doesn't support you, but your kids are the future. And, I give this analogy all the time. My ancestors put the cement in the concrete pot, right? And then the generation during the civil rights movement, they stirred up the pot. And this generation, our role is to lay and pour the foundation so that our kids can just walk forward. Because our kids, I don't know if y'all pay attention to this generation behind us, they are not taking any names. They are just, no, they're not standing for the system shit. So, excuse my mouth. We have to.
You're fine.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Pour the concrete so that these kids can walk forward. And if they see it in us, and if we take the time to teach them, they will then teach their children, and then it sets a new cycle in place.
Oh my gosh. Amen.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I love it.
I'll tell you that my children, walk in this world, move in this world as white people, right? It's the way they look, it's the way they're accepted. I mean, even I have a trans son who's 10 years old, and he is very much accepted as a boy, a male person in this world. Like, no one would know any different. So they walk and navigate with a tremendous amount of privilege. And it's so interesting because I thought it would be different. I thought I would have to really teach them out of whiteness, and I'd have to really shift their experience. I think it's a lot because how I move, and they're not being raised by a white mother, and it's just a different experience for them in that way. But they're just far more radical than me. Even my most conservative kids, like my oldest, who's like a scientist, and she's out there living in Seattle. It's just like the stuff that comes out of her mouth. I'm like, wow, you're just so much more naturally aligned with really doing what it takes to change this world. And the way they notice things is so much different. Like my 21-year-old son is just building his life and building his credit up. And I said, I'll put you on one of my credit cards and help you out with your credit. And his credit score shot up in 1 month, shot up higher than mine has ever been in my whole life, because he was on my card. And he's like, and he said wow, my ma'am, or ma'am, never told me ma'am. Wow, mom, it's kind of interesting that I've never done anything to be worthy of this 770 credit score, but yet here I am. And I'm like, yeah, let's examine that. Let's talk about generational wealth and privilege, and how this is what, this is how, the white people, we watch on Homestead Rescue sometimes I call it Colonist Rescue, because I'm like, your family's been living in Texas for 300 years and has 3,000 acres. And how did that come to be? But this is how it works. And this is what we have to dismantle and examine. But yeah, kids are this generation is ready. They don't subscribe to this authoritarian construct that we have been living in, this patriarchal construct. Like the illusion is totally broken for them. They see what's up.
Yeah, I definitely think they're seeing more and more between social media and just the news. And my kids are 5 and 6, and my 6-year-old is the biggest news junkie. He will get up at 6 a.m. and come report to me by 7 of, did you know that this happened and this happened and this happened? He knows what happened to George Floyd, and he followed the trial. He's freaking 6. But he will say, Black Lives Matter. You all know that Black Lives Matter. We treat everyone equally, and it doesn't matter your skin color. And he will go on a rant to ensure that you know that this is his belief. And I couldn't be more proud, especially as a white mom, that my child is for this and understands the importance of it and is not going to make the same mistakes that we've seen happen over and over again. And he's going to stand up for what is right.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's it's interesting, and even bringing up the word equally, it's like, what happens when everything's equal? And I'll tell you that that's not even the goal of Row House. It's equity and equality are so much different. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as problematic as she was at times, said once when someone asked her, how many women are going to have to be on the Supreme Court for you to be satisfied, and she said 9. And why not?
Right.
And so I'm like, if we're only telling the stories of the most marginalized among us, if those are the only books that are getting published, we need like 400 years of that for it to be equal. So we're for that. We're for tipping the scales in the total opposite direction, because the narrative that we have been fed for so long has been one-sided. And I'm hungry for something fresh and new and different. And I think that's what the world needs. So like, I'm not even looking for equal. I'm looking for like, how much of what hasn't been can I personally make happen? Because that's what's required at this time.
I love that. And I appreciate that you said that. And I personally will work on that with my kids, on making sure that it's more than equal, that it tips the scales. And it's something I think, as Myisha said, that we need to have these conversations with our children. And it is recognizing what we need to say and to say it properly, but also at the same time, not being afraid to have those conversations and, going back and saying, hey, how I said everyone needs to be treated equally? We need to treat them even better.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's no properly either, because the goal is Black liberation. And I think Black liberation liberates all. And, for 400 years that people smarter, better, wiser, stronger, all of that have been working on it. We're still not there. So we have to move imperfectly. We have to move in different ways. We have to have these arguments and these conversations. Like, we're not going to do it right. I don't know what's right or wrong. All I know is the next best step. And I think that that's what Myisha teaches, and that's what her book teaches. But yeah, like, we just have to just keep working at it no matter what.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to read Myisha's book. I can't wait to read more of your author's books, to have everyone on the show. You have an open invitation, anyone from Row House, anytime. And we'll talk offline more too. But in the meantime, can you share where everyone can find Row House, follow Myisha, follow you, Rebekah, and make a difference?
All right, I'll let Myisha go, because we want to follow her first.
You can follow me at Maisha T Hill on Instagram and Facebook, or Check Your Privilege, CK Your Privilege, on Instagram and Facebook as well. Also, my podcast is called Check Your Privilege.
And I will say, beyond following, buy the programs, sign up for the workshops, make sure you pre-order the book, put something in the tip jar. The work has to be subsidized. I know, like, we look like we're out there living our best lives, but we struggle with all the things. And a lot of the times it's because we're neglecting our bills to make, sure a girlfriend's rent gets paid. Like, this is just our life. Like, mutual aid is like sending broke people, like the meme, broke people just sending the same $25 back and forth to each other. So like, when you put money in the hands of a Black woman, you are supporting a community. You're not supporting a person. I need to make that abundantly clear. As far as Row House, rowhousepublishing.com. Hit us up. That's all I got.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate that you took the time to come on, and I appreciate the work that you're both doing too.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We are still in the midst of the holiday season, so I wholeheartedly encourage you to invest in Row House. Send a donation, make a difference, give a gift. If you love books and making a difference, then here is your opportunity to do so. We have work to do, so much work. And as you heard, the most important part is to not be a one and done. Do more. Keep speaking, keep listening, keep striving to do better. This isn't about putting a black post on your Instagram feed for a day or a week. This is about amplifying voices and continuing to have conversations like these. We have to keep going in order to see change happen. So I encourage you, I ask you, I'm telling you that you can and need to be a part of this change. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I know that together we are making a difference. Your voice matters. Until next week, I wish you a very Merry Christmas, all the love and happiness there is, and the courage to keep showing up.